standards are very high because who you choose as a partner literally has the ability to make or break your life.
It will make or break you.
Get that?
Yeah.
And I say that because I have a strong notion and a strong understanding of like the power and the influence that men can have in a woman's life.
Oh yeah.
If you cannot influence me properly or positively,
then
there's just no way you can.
There's no way. There's no way. Hi, my loves. Welcome back to the Gold Bee Show, where I'm your host with the most, as always, LA Gold Bee. And today, I'm so privileged, so honored, like you have no idea, to be sitting here with the one and only Bolanle. Thank you for being here. Bolanle, I have looked up to her so much. Like, I have followed her life. Her perspective on things are just so unique. Like, I always share her content with my friends. Like, they can send you screenshots. Yes. I'm always on her page. Like, you know the funny thing? Okay, let me just introduce her, right? So she's a TV host and actor or actress.
Yeah.
Tress.
I'm going to act a lot more this year. We'll see.
Okay, amen. You know, a radio host. She just wrote an ebook as well, The Bolanle Method, and it's on healthy habits, right? There was one time, now I'm going to my gist. There was one time you went off Instagram for a bit.
I did last year.
And I'm like, where's Bolanle? Like, you would think I know her personally, at least back then. Yeah. You know, and I sent her a DM, like, I haven't seen you in a while. No.
So
it's okay.
When I was offline, I like took such a long break. I was so tired.
Right.
I think people forget that like I've been doing this for quite a while. And a lot of my life is like being online.
Online,
and
yeah.
when I'm online, I'm not there for fun.
You're there for work.
I'm there for work. So it was like me never having a vacation.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I need a vacation. I mean,
and you went off?
Girl, I went off. I traveled.
That's
and
good.
I posted the content. And it was the best trip ever.
It takes a whole lot to go on a trip and not post the content. That's another level of maturity. PhD level.
I was just like, whoa, which just made me realize how much like social media really is so much work to me.
It is.
And I see it through the lens of like making sure that I'm contributing to the space in a way that is helpful and beneficial. And
you really are. I mean, I'm one of the beneficiaries. I promise you. So, yes, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me and for putting this show.
Yes.
I mean, I think in terms of just like your content and also the kind of knowledge that you're trying to put on this space, I think it's really good. We need so much more.
Yes.
The content space is like such a cluster. You know the word I'm going to use. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited for our conversation.
Thank you so much. So we're going to be discussing on setting standards. Setting standards in your life as a woman, putting yourself first. And I think I would like us to start from there.
Okay.
For you, what are standards like for you? Let's dive in.
My standards are my mom keeps asking me, she's like, actually your standards are not too high. So I think I'm going to talk about standards for different things, right?
Yeah.
So I guess talking about like my life standards and what I want for my life. I think first of all, professionally, I've been very blessed and fortunate to be in standards and spaces that are quite professional.
Amen.
I started my journey on Ebony Live TV, and Muabudu Auntie Mo, she set a really high standard in terms of like what the experience was
and
like.
excellence as well.
Exactly, and also what we were paid was good. So that was so I came into the industry being like, so it shocked me when I found out is that much other people are getting paid. So I had a really good professional experience of standards, and because of that, like when it comes to my work, I make sure I set standards for myself very high.
Yes.
So when it comes to like professionally, like I don't believe in not having knowledge. I love knowledge. I love reading.
Knowledge is so important.
I love getting better at what it is that I do. So I do a thing where I always go to, I take classes like every 2 years in
To
LA,
improve on yourself,
just so I can get better at like what I
your
do
craft.
professionally.
Yes. Wow.
Because I remember watching myself. I studied communications in school, but I didn't do the theoretical part of communication. So I didn't have practice, and I landed on a show, and it was my first time. And I remember watching myself, and I remember everyone else thinking, "Oh my gosh, you're so great." You're so
Right.
great. And I was like, "This is an actual joke."
Oh, wow.
I wasn't being hard on myself.
Look at being self-aware.
Yeah.
I was
just being sober-minded. Like, this is not good enough. So when it comes to professionally, I set very high standards for myself, and I try as much as possible to like just get better.
If you don't hit those standards, how do you feel?
I really feel I actually sometimes I'm trying to learn not to beat myself up. Because
That's good. That's where I was going. Yeah.
I can be very like, oh, darn it.
I should have done this. I should have said this.
Yeah, But I've also learned that if I practice enough, that doesn't happen. So the reason why I tend to sometimes beat myself up is because I chose not to practice. I chose not to prepare. I chose not to put myself in a place where I prepared. I usually only beat myself up when I know I didn't prepare properly. But when
you didn't do the work,
I didn't do the work. If I did work and something happens, because we all know how Nigeria is, especially if you're hosting events or your life just happens. It's not as smooth sailing as you like. And then I'm just like, it is what it is. Like, it's cool. Like, I know that my craft will show up for itself. And then there can be nuances that happen that maybe it's not as good. Right. I'm very forgiving on myself. That's very good. And I think that's so important that even when you do set standards and you don't, for whatever reason, measure up, that you're not beating yourself up. At all. Sometimes we know everything there is about ourselves. I don't know everything about you, but you do. Yeah. You spend the most time with you. So you know all your mess ups. You know everywhere you should have performed better that you didn't, or even places that you outperformed and shocked yourself. You know everything. But we have to get to that point where we are forgiven of ourselves, which you mentioned. Yeah. And that's so important for across board, for everything. For everything. I don't like regret. I think it's a waste of time. Regret is a waste of time. A waste of mental space, mental capacity, emotions, time, just a lot of things. There's literally nothing you can do. Yeah. There's nothing you can do to change the past. It's gone. Like, the only thing you can change is now and the future. You can change, and how you, can we talk about that? So, it's interesting as I get older and, as I begin to really sit into myself as a person, I'm really beginning to do good reflection. That's good. And when you're doing reflection, there's a emotion of, I wish I could have, that would try and steal your joy. And it's just natural that you have to fight back. Oof. You have to be no. Yeah. No. Because the other option is to never do the reflection and you never grow. Right. You don't get the opportunity to say, what could I have done differently? What could I have done better? Right. When you think about it, think about end of the year reflection. Yeah. You look back and it's January to April, I was sleeping. Man, I wish I had not wasted all that time. Da, 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 da. And let's talk about, you talked about comparison. Did you say comparison being the thief of joy? You mentioned something about being the thief of joy. So regret, right? So I also now want to talk about comparison. Yeah. A lot of times it's us comparing ourselves to other people. Yeah. But what about us comparing ourselves to our past? I know, that's a crazy one. It just dawned on me when you were speaking, a lot of times we compare ourselves to a past version of ourselves. You will never go back there. That's so deep. I have never even thought of that you can compare yourself to a version of yourself that was from before and it doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't, this just dawned on me. Yeah. The person I was and I would apply this to spiritual growth. So there was a certain point in my life where I had no responsibilities. All I did was study the word. And there's nothing wrong in that. So I knew a lot of scriptures, right? And then as time went on, I got a little bit busy, got married, got involved in other things. And even the Bible does say that when you get married,
there are distractions. And there's nothing wrong in that. Yeah. God knows this. He knew this beforehand. Hello, it's not a shock to him, right? So I started comparing myself at that point in time to a previous version of myself, saying, oh, why can't I be like this? Why can't I go back to where I was? And I started regretting and feeling bad, like, okay, did I do something wrong? Should I leave everything I've been blessed with and go back to that? No, you are evolving.
That's so deep.
You are evolving.
That's so deep.
And there's a newer version of you that has more responsibilities to go put what you've learned to practice.
Different seasons.
Different seasons of life.
In that, like you said, I will never forget, I had a mentor who once said to me, and she was just talking about her seasons in her life. And it was, of course, you know, when you're a mother and you go from being married,
single to married,
and you have
children, right?
And she said, like she wasn't in the season when she had children to have long, deep, quiet times. Her quiet times were on the go.
On the go.
And she had to finally sit with herself and stop beating herself up.
Yes. Accepting your seasons. Yeah. That's a standard.
And she said she had to also understand that her ministry had changed and that her ministry was now to her children and her family. So
that's
she wasn't doing
good.
External ministry anymore.
That's so good.
Before she was so used to, like, you know, meeting with
people, right?
All that. She was like,
and seasons change, and as seasons change, we have to be okay with them.
Fully, but it's hard.
It's hard. It's not easy. Yeah.
Also, when it's a season that you don't particularly like.
Say that.
That part.
Yeah, that part. So now let's talk about choosing yourself first as it relates to setting standards for your life. And when I say choosing yourself, I would love for you to talk about this professionally and relationally.
So I'll probably do like relationally since I talked about
professionally first.
Professionally before. So I deeply love myself.
That's good.
I deeply love myself because I know that I'm loved. I've been raised in very good love.
That's good.
And because of that, I know because my standards are very clean and cut, and I know what I give and I know what I expect back.
That's
and
good.
I know what the type of person who I will be expecting from should have.
Right.
I want to make sure I protect that.
Yes.
I think that standards, it protects your heart.
It does.
I think it gives you the ability to be able to say no to a lot of nonsense that you shouldn't even. It's not even an option.
It's not.
It's not even an option. And I say that because I don't think people really know how. And this is people are different, Sha.
Everybody's different.
But I'm the kind of person who, the way I heal, I don't heal that quick, and that's because of once I open my
when you open your heart,
I open it.
Yeah.
So I learned that in order to preserve myself for the right person, I need to set very high standards. Very high standards
and keep to them.
And yeah.
I did a poll on my Instagram stories where I asked women, do you have standards that you have set for your romantic relationships? 91% said yes, and 9% said no. And then I went on to ask, do you keep to these set standards? And from 91, we dropped to 63.
Okay.
And 11 no, and 26% were giving me the side eye emoji.
Exactly. I would say that drop is probably, I
think it's even less than what it's supposed to be, because I think that we set standards. Sometimes we don't even know the basis for why we set standards. So for example, when I was dating, one of the standards I had for myself was to keep myself pure, right? So no kissing, no physical contact, right? Until my wedding day. And by God's grace, I kept to that, right? But it was rooted in a personal conviction. So someone could hear me talk about this and say, she has those standards. She said she's not kissing any man till her wedding. She kept to it, and she's married to a fine man. I'm gonna do the same.
Yeah. But then your anchor is not strong enough.
You don't know.
Yeah. You don't know the truth.
You don't know the truth in why you're doing that.
Yeah.
whatever standards you're setting for yourself should be rooted in something that is solid. A very solid foundation, and not just, a lot of times we try to pick and choose traits we want from people for our own lives. And life doesn't work that way. Your background is different. Your upbringing is different. Your experiences are different. Your temperaments, your personality, your everything about you and the next person are so different. So let's talk about that.
So I think what I realized is all my standards are based on what I know I want and what I know I don't want.
Right.
And also what I feel like I offer in partnership as well. Because I've done a lot of work on myself.
Yes.
And I try with all of my heart to become a better version of myself every day, and every year. I truly believe that I would like someone to mirror that.
Yes. Right. I don't believe you work on yourself to just expose yourself to anything and anybody.
Exactly. Let me tell you another reason why my standards are high. My standards are very high because who you choose as a partner literally has the ability to make or break your life.
It will make or break you.
Get that?
Yeah.
And I say that because I have a strong notion and a strong understanding of like the power and the influence that men can have in a woman's life.
Oh yeah.
If you cannot influence me properly or positively,
then
there's just no way you can.
There's no way. There's no way. That is beautiful. And I feel like if more women will go out there with this mentality, it will help them choose better.
Yeah.
Like if you know what you know, if you know you have worked on yourself so hard, if you've worked so hard, for example, to make 10 million naira, you will not just you will not just be buying anything. You can't do that. You know what it took you. Yeah. But if you didn't work hard for it, then you can waste it.
And I think it goes back to, do you love yourself enough?
Do you love yourself enough? Yeah.
Love that's good. So when it comes down to it, for me, standards are very basic. They're just very basic things. Like
give us examples. Yeah.
So I have a basic one that I'm not comfortable with having a partner that goes to a strip club. It's just not.
That's not me. That's not it.
A thing.
I agree with that.
I know that a lot of people are like, oh, that's so archaic. I'm like, babe, there's nothing archaic about it. I am not gonna go and see a young woman, and I know it's art, and I know people are, it's done in a professional way, but I don't understand what we're doing there.
What's the purpose behind it?
Like, I really want to have a nice, godly marriage, and I really would like to avoid both of us from having any affairs through the process of marriage.
Because I really feel like a lot of things are seeds. You see something once, you see it again. Yeah. Consistency and exposure will lead you to places you don't need to be.
Exactly. And some people say, oh, they don't get turned on or whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's just not something that I'm comfortable with.
And that is perfectly fine.
That is an interesting one because I think I keep seeing a lot of people's standards move on things based on the fact that they're like, well, if I don't shift the standard, it seems like I'm not cool or I'm not like down with the game.
And you don't have to be like everyone else. Cool. You don't have to be like everyone else. You don't have to morph and conform to the standards of the world.
Exactly.
You don't have to do that.
So that's another place my standards come from. It's just that even in my career choices and the way I've done my career, I've always, my career has never been based on the standards of what like the world says I need to do or how I need to do it.
That's so good.
How, my industry says I need to do it. And I think finally a lot of us are beginning to feel that way. We're beginning to feel like we can be fully who we are.
Yes,
and
that's so powerful.
Really important.
Yeah, that is so powerful.
That's just one example. I have a few others that are like really core. Like my standards they're not based on things that are fleeting, but they're based on core things that I know and I've seen from other people who are older and have been married for a long time, and I've listened to them.
And you desire those things.
Exactly.
What I like is that you can see someone who has a certain lifestyle and decide for yourself, oh, I want that.
So ask them how they did it.
And ask them and then work towards it. Have a firm foundation, right? Like I didn't see a lot of healthy marriages growing up. And I wanted to be different. I said, I don't understand why this is not working, but mine needs to work. And guess what? I started looking for people who had gotten it right. I started studying on their lives. Whatever books they had, I bought them all. Whatever messages they had on YouTube, on podcasts, whatever it was.
Have you shared this on your show before, who some of those people are?
No.
You should. Because,
okay, so one of my top people that I studied to the T, I think I've probably read a good percentage of his books, and I have probably all of them, all his books, not read them all yet, but a good majority would be Miles Monroe.
Amazing.
I studied on his life. I listened to every message on marriage I could find on YouTube. Like, if you see the views of any video going high, it's me. I am the one, right? So Miles Monroe is one of them. When I came to Nigeria, I went to a conference and I heard Tara Fela-Durotoye speak. At the time, I knew what I wanted. I had been studying, listened to Miles Monroe and a lot of other people that I look up to. But I was in an unhealthy relationship. And I knew something was wrong, but I could not pinpoint it. I knew within me something was wrong. So I went to a conference and I heard TFD, Tara Fela-Durotoye, speak. And she was talking about how she's Arike. And Yoruba language, I think it's someone who's taken care of. She was like, in her husband's hands, she's an egg. Egg. When I heard that, I was like, what?
She's carry an egg.
Do you know how you carry an egg? It's fragile.
It's fragile. There's no pressure.
There's no pressure. You carry it with so much care. When I heard that, I was like, wow.
Wow. That's deep.
Wow. And I said, God, I want that. And that's not what I have right now. That's not what I have right now. And it gave me the power to walk away. It took a few more weeks or so. But when I heard that, it changed the way I was thinking, because I thought I needed to hold on to this. You know, they talk about the 80-20. Where there's 80% good in a person and 20, so you just have to deal with. And I said, okay, let me hold on to the 80. But that 80 was like 20.
Especially if there are things in the 20 that...
some 20s are disastrous.
Some 20s are disastrous, and some 20s will grow to become 100%. That's the truth. And I think there's something else, that you said that really resonated with me. It's just this fact that you were able to tell yourself the truth.
Yeah.
Like...
And you know something, the truth is, as a life coach, I always tell women, the truth is, you know the truth. We know the truth. We just want, we just want to nurture, sometimes we just want to nurture pain or familiarity, comfort zones, fear of the unknown, fear of starting over. We just want to nurture those things. But the truth is, we know the truth.
We always know the truth. Always.
And I mentioned that in my book, where I knew the truth about the person I was with, but I just couldn't come to terms with like walking away.
Yeah.
I mean, I eventually did, thank God, but eventually I walked away, and that was one of the biggest gifts I gave myself. Yeah. And I did this in my late 20s. When they tell you, you're running out of your prime. But I promise you, it's better you break up at 29, at 30, at 32, at 40 with the wrong person, rather than going through emotional,
mental
issues.
Stress. I mean, you just are not, you're like a shell of yourself.
Yeah.
With the wrong person.
There's truly an abundant life for you if you would choose. Like, standards will allow you operate from an abundant mentality.
Standards allow you to operate from abundant mentality. Will allow you to weed out things that you don't need to.
Right.
Will allow you not to be exposed and open to things that
you don't know. You don't need. Right.
It's like, this should not be a conversation. Like, at the end of the day, you shouldn't have to be dealing with that kind of circumstances if you have good standards.
If you have good standards, right? So setting standards for your life is really for you. It's for you. It's for you. It's for your children. It's for your friends. When I set good standards, my friends will see it and they would desire those good things. And then they can morph and conform to the better part of life for them, right? whoever you are spills on everything around you. I've been able to do the inner work in my own life. And that's why I can talk about these things now.
Yeah, and it's obvious, like it shows you're not just talking about it from head knowledge.
No.
But you've actually practiced it.
Yeah, for a long time too.
Yeah.
So by me doing that inner work and talking about these things, you're being changed. Yeah, by she having certain standards, and you're still single, right? You didn't collapse.
I didn't.
You didn't faint,
I'm still breathing.
right?
I'm still breathing, and I'm very good at being very content.
Being content with who you are, where you are, in the season you're in. That's so powerful.
And I know for a lot of people, when you say, oh, it's also just a heads up, having standards will make you have seasons where your phone is not going to ring.
At all.
But, you won't notice that your phone is not ringing because you are focused on so many different aspects of your life, and your life is full. And I think a lot of times when people are nervous about being single, or, all of it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have anyone to talk to, or like just having companionship.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Loneliness is very real and it's very valid.
It's your feelings are valid in that.
It's important that you learn how to be happy with just yourself.
Yeah, and you spend the most time with yourself.
Yeah.
I said that earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
You spend the most time with your thoughts and yourself. Why not make yourself home?
So there's something that I do where this actually comes very natural to me, and I have to actually force myself not to do it. So I don't drive. I often don't drive with anything, like no music, no nothing.
Oh wow.
I drive in silence, and then I generally don't have like music or TV on. That's just a personality thing. But what it helps me do, and what it's helped me do, is be very good with sitting with my thoughts.
Yes, which is so powerful.
I'm very good about hearing my thoughts, hearing what I think about myself, hearing what I think about like what's happening in my life.
That makes you more self-aware.
All of that. So that's a very, I don't do it because I'm always trying to find self-awareness. I do it because I'm just like, ooh, I like silence.
I like silence though.
But I would highly recommend that. It's a great way. You can be a lover of music and TV and radio, but it's a really good way to hear what you think about yourself and what you think about certain situations in your life. When you shut down all the noise, oh my gosh, your thoughts are crazy. Sometimes
they are
great. Sometimes
they're great. Depending on what you've been feeding on, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that is so powerful. So now, as we round out, I would like you to talk to the girl out there, the young lady who is trying to set standards for herself professionally, but she doesn't have a profession. Yeah. She wants to set standards. She wants more from life, but she's not been able to get to the place where she can express herself. So you talk about you being, TV host and, acting and things of that nature. How do you talk to that girl who wants to go do these things but doesn't have the opportunities?
So I would say, I think the first thing is I strongly believe in creating your own opportunities.
Wow, that's so,
right.
That's like, good.
If you work in media, you actually don't have an excuse. Like you can create, if you have
a phone,
you literally can create your own opportunities.
Yeah.
So, before you couldn't break through, there was a barrier, there was a massive wall, but that wall is pretty much leveled to the ground.
That wall is leveled.
And when people say, oh, but how do I do it? YouTube.
YouTube.
I love the internet.
It's such a great place.
I love it. I love the internet because everything I wanted to learn or do in the last few years, I've been able to learn it from there. And it just it's about sitting down and really taking the time.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times people are like, oh, I need a mentor. I really have found that even me, when I'm trying to, seasons where I've tried to find mentors look for people that they can gain value from as well. Mentor-mentee relationships are value exchange relationships. Of course, usually there's going to be more value added to you as the mentee, but the mentor needs to feel like they can get some sort of value from you.
Very important.
And the value can be something as much as you're teachable.
Yeah.
That is a value.
Yeah.
Or you have initiative.
Yeah.
If you don't have anything to offer your mentor, have initiative. Because the mentor is likely going to be able to be they will agree to be your mentor because they're like, this girl is smart. She's like she wants to learn.
She's willing to learn. Yeah. She's available.
Not the one where it's like
you have nothing.
You have to spell it out for you. Everything. You're not really trying to figure things out on your own.
Yeah.
I would say that's number one. Number two, I think, is really, really having an idea of like, what's your legacy? Like, what do you want to be?
What do you want?
What do you want to be known as when you?
Yes.
Like, I think about like my life. I
Yes.
think about what I want people to say about me when I pass away. Like, I know it sounds morbid, but it's very important that I live my life towards a place where I'm going to be happy on my last day on earth.
Wow.
So that is very important. So legacy, like, what do I want to be known for? How do I want people to say Bolanle made them feel when they met me?
Wow.
Mind you, my brain can touch. I have a very interesting personality because I'm very like outgoing, but I'm also a huge introvert. But it's about how I make people feel. So those are things that I think about. So when I think about that, it helps me go back to work on things that I'm not good at.
Wow.
So if I'm
That's so good.
know, if my legacy is this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be known for, as of today, now, that means I'm working backwards towards it.
That is so powerful.
Floating.
Yeah.
So I think those are like two things, right? Is create opportunities for yourself and ask yourself, like, what does your legacy look like and how do you want it to be?
Yeah.
And if you know that, then you're going to be taking actions and steps towards that.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I've said no to in life because it's just not...
It's not in line.
It's not in line.
Yeah.
And of course, there are times and seasons, you know, like now, whoever knew I'd write an ebook on how to lose weight, but it's just something that I was just like, oh my gosh, I've done this for so long. I've kept this weight up for so long.
And you've evolved, and why not?
Why not?
Why not?
There's so much, and there's a lot of knowledge that I realized, like, wow, people really don't know this, like the basic stuff.
Thank you. Sometimes we feel like people know the basics, and you would be so shocked that they don't. And we just need to keep reiterating it over and over. You know, something I wrote in my book was, who do you want to be at 70 years old?
Are you asking me?
No.
Oh. I
No, because no. You obviously, right, you obviously know what it is. And I wrote it in here, like, who do you want to be at 70? Where do you want to live? What's your net worth?
Yes.
What do you look like?
How many grandkids you got?
Right? Who you married to?
Are you married?
Right. Do you live in a country home, a townhome? Where do you live?
Who are your friends?
Who are your friends? What do you have access to?
That's so beautiful.
Write out what you want to be at 70 and then work backwards.
It's deep, man. That's it. That's what we talk about when we're saying legacy.
Yeah, that's what we talk about when she talks about legacy. Yeah. Read the book. Get the book. Invest in knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Invest in knowledge.
Invest in knowledge.
That you're buying us and scrolling through social
right?
media, not doing anything.
Very, very affordable. Read it. And not just this book. There are many other books, but get this one, right? This one. You are gold. Do the inner work. Evolve into your best self. There's a better version of yourself awaiting. And if you would do that work, you will get there. Thank you so much for this time. This was so refreshing, so enlightening. Well. Thank you for being here on the Gold Bee Show.
Thank you. I had an amazing time.
Thank you. So now, thank you to all the viewers. Make sure you like, leave a comment, subscribe, share this video with someone else if it has been helpful to you. And most importantly, the lessons that you have heard, the notes you have taken from listening to this, make sure you apply it to your lives. One day at a time. Again, I am Ele Gold, and this is Bolanle. So you can follow Bolanle on her social media platforms. Tell us where we can find you.
Instagram is Bolanle, and Twitter is Bolanle Olukanni.
All right, go follow her, learn, eat up her material, okay?